Chick-fil-A is apparently coming out with a streaming service. Now, I don't know if this thing is going to work, so let's dive deep into it, Nationers. Nationers, welcome back to another episode of The Realest Podcast, episode 63, banner right behind me. I forgot to do that last episode, by the way, Nationers. I realized it kind of towards the end of the episode when I was kind of like signing it off and like being like, oh, thanks for watching type thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, I totally forgot that normally I would go, this is the episode, welcome back, banner right behind me. And of course, I hope you guys are all doing well. Good to see you guys here. And like I said, Nationers, I totally forgot about that last time, so I want to make sure to do it this time in episode 63 of the Realest Podcast, Nationers. I am super excited to be back. I feel like I'm starting to kind of hit that groove of, getting the podcast done. And I think maybe the mentality of it is like, I don't necessarily get to like, I got to get it done. I watched a video of surprisingly a CrossFitter named Amanda Barnhart. She hadn't actually competed this year in this year's games. So she had like a summer off, and she did a podcast, I think maybe talking about the tragedy, which if you guys don't know about the tragedy, I would refer you to episode 62 where we kind of talked about what is going down. There's even some new news to that I want to talk about to kind of introduce this episode. But she was talking about when you're working out, especially if you're even a professional, or even if you're a first-time, CrossFitter, or doing these for the first time, or just anything that you're doing for the first time, make sure you enjoy it, right? And I think I kind of put this into streaming and content creation as a whole. And maybe what I'm talking about with the podcast is it's not about just like getting it done. I think you also got to have fun days when it comes to any sport that you're doing, especially in that case, CrossFit for her. And for me, I think there's got to be fun days where you're actually going to go record. And I think a part of me for this podcast, it's the scripting part. I really love like learning about these new things. I really like talking about these new things. And I feel like there's certain aspects, definitely, I think for me, and maybe for you guys, if you guys are content creators or anything that you guys do hobby-wise or job-wise, where it's like, that part just definitely sucks, And for me, a lot of that is the editing. I love editing in a way that, creates the vision that I have in my mind. And I feel like if I know that I have a vision in my mind, things are good. If I don't, I struggle and I don't like it, right? And I'm just like, this is just not something that I enjoy. So with that, Nation, I kind of want to open it up because today there's going to be new pastures. There's going to be things that we are going to be talking about. Obviously, you guys probably have seen the title of today's episode. And yes, it's real. It's coming. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are doing well. Don't forget to enjoy the fun things and whatever you guys are doing. And I kind of just want to lead with that off on today's podcast because I feel like there's moments in my life, especially when I'm making content, where maybe that isn't necessarily achieved. And there's certain parts of, again, like this podcast where I feel like I got to get it done. And like I was saying, I feel like I've started to get into a really good flow of it. And who knows, 2 weeks down the line, that flow might be gone. But I want to make sure to get these podcasts out to you guys, the listeners, the watchers, those watching on YouTube or listening on any streaming platform. Just thank you guys, for watching these podcasts and listening to these podcasts. I feel like I just ramble on most of the time, but like I said, Nationers, I really enjoy the process of coming up with a script and coming up with something that we can kind of discuss and have like fun doing, right? I think that's the biggest thing. And I know it's kind of hard, obviously, because I'm doing these solo, right? And obviously I wish I could do like blind rankings or certain fun, like little activities if I had like a co-host, obviously like guests included, but having like a co-host. And I don't know if you guys know, and maybe some of you guys, aren't tapped into some of the streaming side of things, but I do have a girlfriend, and I wouldn't say that necessarily she's like, like, yay, like, yes, like I want to hop on the podcast as a co-host. But if you guys would love to see her maybe come on for an episode, let me know down in the comment section below, or let me know in the poll if you guys are watching on streaming and whatnot. I feel like it would be kind of fun to do, just so that we can kind of banter. You guys can kind of get to know her, get to see what, she's like. She's amazing. She's awesome. She's so beautiful. And I feel like what we have together is something so like special when it comes to like our conversations and kind of like how we bounce off each other so well. And I feel like it would work well, not only just not in a co-hosting setting right now, but I just want to like maybe see if it goes well, and so let me know down in the comment section if you guys are totally down for that. And let's get right into the main conversation of today's podcast episode, Nationers. Chick-Fil-A is apparently coming out with a streaming service. Now, I don't know if this thing is going to work, so let's dive deep into it, Nationers. Yes, you heard that correctly. Chick-fil-A is dropping or launching a brand new streaming service. Now, to many, it's like, well, what are they going to do, right? Are they going to like just like have like a streaming platform and that's just going to be it? Like, are they going to be certain shows on there? We're going to dive deep into that. I did some research. I want to kind of put this into perspective of a new streaming platform that is a streaming service, because obviously there's so many out there. We have like Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount, Apple TV, Netflix. There's so many streaming platforms out there. And mind you, I think I'm going to use those words service and streaming service, that is, and platform very interchangeably, because to me, they're basically the exact same thing. They're not like any different from one another. They're just the exact same thing to describe something. So what are they planning on doing? Now, Chick-fil-A is planning on dropping a family-friendly streaming service. And that kind of includes, what I would consider, and maybe I'll talk about this in a sec, but my mind doesn't go, I totally forgot an important part. They're creating a family-friendly TV series or streaming platform that includes Nation, I wrote this down. Let me just read it for verbatim because I feel like I'm doing a very, very much a big disservice to this. They are planning on creating and hosting family-friendly shows, many of them being reality TV. Now, when I think of reality TV, I don't necessarily think of like family friendly right away. Now, I came up and I looked up like a bunch of shows that are non-family friendly reality TV shows. Now, I have 5. There are going to be plenty more that are not family friendly. One of them being Hell's Kitchen, a somewhat family-esque reality TV show, but definitely not family friendly. Jersey Shore, very much on the far side of not family friendly TV. We have Love Island, which kind of teeters more onto like the 3/4. You might watch it with like friends, but maybe not family. You also have MILF Manor, again, maybe a little bit far onto that side. Bar Rescue. They're talking about alcohol. They're talking about running a bar. John Tapper is yelling obscene things at owners in a bar because they don't know how to run it. Very much on that side of not family friendly. It kind of reminds me of like the Wavelength game where it's like family friendly, not family friendly reality TV show. I feel like that'd be like a really funny card to have, because like I would put like Hell's Kitchen like a little past halfway. Again, like a show you'd probably watch with your family. Master Chef, I would say a little bit more towards the center. Family friendly is like Coco Melon, like that's very much like a Coco Melon-esque show. Family friendly. So I came up with a list of family-friendly reality TV shows, so maybe a little bit more onto this side of the wavelength. Now, Survivor, again, maybe a little bit more on that side. It's a little dangerous. There's a lot of cool challenges. Like, I watched it as a kid. They're not necessarily, like, saying obscene things. I'm sure they curse, but they definitely do bleep it out. Amazing Race. Amazing Race is a show that's a little bit more jam-packed, a little bit more adrenaline-filled. They're racing across a country, multiple countries, a continent even, and they're doing a whole bunch of fun challenges. And another CBS show. You could also maybe throw like Big Brother in there. That one's a little bit more up there. I watched I watched Big Brother a ton growing up. Does that make it family-friendly? Probably not. But CBS has got that family-friendly niche down. They're very much in this wavelength here. The Voice, a very, very family-friendly show. We have American Idol, again, another singing competition. You can maybe even put like a bunch of like singing competitions in, like Can You Hear My Voice, The Masked Singer. You could put a bunch of, I would say, shows in there that relate to singing. I remember this one episode of American Idol. And it's one of those ones where they're in Hollywood. They're supposed to find a group. They're supposed to get a group of like 4 or 5 people. And I think the idea of it post is that they're like supposed to see like, oh, how do they work in a group? Just in case if they want to put them in a group like Simon Cowell did for One Direction. And like was it Little Mix? One of the female groups out of the X Factor. But then on top of that also being how good of a singer are they? I don't think they really care if like, they make it into a group or not, or how that dynamic works. I think they also just want to see if they might work in a group. Maybe they find like 5 different people that are all really much alike and all have like a really good vocal range within themselves. They might find the next One Direction or Little Mix or, any group that's been spawned in and created from a TV show producer, any show like that. And then also claim to fame. That's very family-friendly TV show. I mean, I think there's a little bit of, maybe a little bit more towards the middle, but again, a family-friendly TV show that I would watch with my family. There's not too much cursing, at least from what I remember. But just a fun little show. The concept's really cool. I didn't think it was going to do great at first, but it's actually done really well. And like I said, with the American Idol, I totally forgot to mention the actual important part of the story is I remember like one person like was not jiving with the group and kind of got thrown in with the group, and they like got so upset. They just started cursing, running out, and it was great television show. Production there, because I think it was around the time when Paula Abdul, Randy Jackson and Simon Cowell were all the judges. And so it was a little bit more, not edgy, it was just a little less family friendly. So I think American Idol now is a little bit more family friendly. My mom is all up in that. She's got a vote. She's on The Voice. She's trying to get points on the app of like, whatever that means. But again, Chick-fil-A is trying to create family-friendly TV. And if I'm being honest again, and I think most people are going to joke around like, oh, it's just going to be like Christian, TV shows. It's going to be like more propaganda in that way. Or it's going to be just like, you're not even going to be able to watch it on Sundays, right? Because Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. Because obviously, if you guys don't know, the owner of Chick-fil-A is Christian. They have made a lot of business decisions because of that faith. And one of them is closed on Sundays. Because they want people to go to church. They want people to be active within their faith. And so, again, it seems super weird because, like, why would Chick-fil-A create and launch their own streaming service? It doesn't make any sense. But believe it or not, Chick-fil-A has actually released a 6-episode series. Now, it says 6 episodes. I don't know because in the playlist, it only has 4 videos, 2 of them being privated or unlisted to some extent. But it does have 6 videos in there. Now, I'm just going to use 6 because that's the number that I see, but 4 videos that are actually public. Now, 6 episodes or what I would refer to like mini short episodes or films in a way that all kind of harp along the message of how little acts of kindness can bring people together. That's kind of the concept. Now, the main character in this series is Sam. She's probably what I would say like a young kid, 8, 9 years old, and she's, trying to learn the world around her. Now, I would say that the style of these episodes look a lot like Merge Mansion type videos that you've seen, ads on your phone, or like videos that you've seen in more of an animated sense. So not like real people. I'm sure they obviously are, real voice actors by all means, especially with AI nowadays. But I believe that they are I don't know what I believe that they are, but they're animated. That's what I meant to say. I didn't mean to tangent from that. Sometimes I lose my train of thought on these podcasts, and I'm sure it shows in not only audio for the audio, but also you guys watching as well. But it's called The Stories of Evergreen Hills. Now, I think it's just like a little community. It's a family of 4, a mom, dad, brother, and her, Sam. That's the main girl. Now, of course, the classic cliche, the mom's too busy to mom. The business dad is too much in his business that he doesn't actually spend time for his kids. And then the brother is a gamer. That's the archetype and the stereotypes of this family. Now, most of this, I believe, is set near the winter Christmassy time. I don't know if these stories interconnect, but the main thing about it is there seems to be this time shop that Sam constantly goes to. And it seems like I don't know if she has dementia, but every single time she goes into the time shop, it's almost like if she's never seen it before. So like one episode, she wants to go build a snowman and her family's too busy. Her brother's gaming, her dad's on a business call, and the mom's like, I don't know, like working. She's on her mom blog. And Sam just wants to build a snowman. She asked the mom, too busy, asked the dad, too busy, asked the gamer brother, and he's like, get out of my way. I'm playing, I don't know, like Space Invaders, but like runs horizontally instead of top down. And she's like, oh crap. And so she walks into the hallway, the main hallway. Again, it's one of those houses that like you open the door and it's a long hallway and the stairs to the left and like a playroom, kitchen, all that stuff on the right. And she has a clock at the very end of this hallway and it starts like opening up like if it's a door. So she runs in it and she's like, oh, what is this? Oh, and it seems like it's Santa Claus. It's like the time shop, and he gives her a card, and it's like the time shop says like 1 hour with family making a snowman. That's the concept of it. So she goes back, and then they're like, oh my goodness, where have you been? I don't know. It's been like a minute. Like the entire series, I would say, is less than like 20 minutes long. I would say it's like 2 minutes, maybe around 20 minutes. It's 10 minutes for 1, 7, and like 140 in 2 minutes. So around 20 minutes in total length of the 4 episodes I watched. And that episode goes by and they have, you know, kind of like a little card and they have like a zoom out shot from inside where they're all building a snowman. And it kind of reminds me of maybe a little bit more of a short film related to those little kindness acts or little random acts of kindness that they have on like TV show commercials, right? Where they're like, oh my goodness, like, oh yeah, they came through the drive-thru and they just lit up my day, you know, those types of comments or those types of commercials, but more or less the story being put into an actual short film. And again, it's like 2 minutes for that episode. She ends up like, her and her family end up going to like the light show and the lights aren't working and she ends up trying to flip a switch and then she goes into the switch shop and I assume that none of you guys are going to watch these, so I'm just telling you what the episodes are like. And so the second episode is, again, where she's trying to flip the switch. For the worker tells her to flip it. She flips it. She goes into the switch shop, and she's like, oh, what is this? Like she hasn't been into like the time shop, you know? And so it's really funny because again, she just like doesn't remember that she's been in like a situation similar. And so this woman is like telling her like, oh, like make sure to have hope. And she gives her like nothing. She like does like a spell, this whole like little light ball of hope. She clasps it in her hands and the hands like touches her hand. Just like, all you need is hope. And so she tries flipping, switches back into reality in a way. Try switching it again. It doesn't work. And she looks at the star and is like, all I need is hope. Literally runs up the ladder like it's a pair of stairs, like a flight of stairs. And she just touches the top of the star and all the lights in the city, not just the park where all the light shows, the lights in the city are back on. So I think there's good messaging there. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's not for me. And I want you guys to know that out of the 4 videos that are public, there is a total of 342 million views on all of them. 2 of them being in the millions. 2 of them are 275K and like 279K. And the crazy thing is that 2 of them equate to basically 342 million views. 2 videos, one being 7 minutes, the other being 10 minutes. That is insane. Now, I think part of that is because it is on YouTube Kids. Now, I don't know if they're like looking at that and being like, oh, this could be a gold mine. Like we can create that. They've made like a cow, like short film that, you know, kind of relates to like a cow, Chick-Fil-A in a way. You know, if you guys know, you know, the mascot of Chick-Fil-A is a cow and not a chicken. But I think it's because YouTube Kids is like prime real estate for content like that, like family friendly, good messaging. Like that's what kids shows are like, you know, like, I mean, I grew up on like Max and Ruby and like the Bernsteins and like Big Bear. But the thing is like those are like longer episodes. They're not like such like short, like bite-sized content where it's like, oh, like Dora. Dora is like probably the best thing where it's like, what is that? Or like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, right? And so the biggest thing is that like I watched the series and I'm like, well, it has potential. Like obviously there's views there. But it's like, are they going to make more content? Are they going to license content? And the answer to that is yes. They are planning on licensing content And again, I have no idea what type of content that is going to be. Like, The Office has switched platforms so many times. Modern Family has switched platforms so many times. Like, Impractical Jokers, my favorite show of all time, has switched platforms a bunch of times. It's been on HBO Max, it's been on Hulu. I don't know if it's on both. That very well could be the thing. And so I'm thinking about like shows like Dora and like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, but those are like very much like Nickelodeon. That's Paramount. You have Disney Plus because that's Disney and Mickey Mouse. What type of content are they going to go get? Are they going to try and get like Cocomelon? I feel like Cocomelon's like a big conglomerate, but it's like they're so big that you're not licensing them. Maybe you're not like trying to own the entire franchise or all the content that they own, like much of these big streaming platforms are, where they're trying to like buy out like every single piece of content that they have. So I am intrigued on what type of content they're going to get and what type of content they're going to make, because that short little 4-episode, 6-episode series is like really nice. The animation looks great on it. Like, it doesn't look like it's jank. It doesn't look like it's low budget. Like, they're planning on spending $400,000 per episode on like a new series that they're creating. So it seems like they're definitely putting time and thought into it. I don't know what that duration necessarily entails. Like, I don't know if that's going to get you like a 20-minute episode, a 10, 7. Yeah, I don't know what that's going to be. But I will say, I think the one downside to all of this licensing, to all of this new platform that they're going to create and the content that they already have out, is I think it's going to cater to more kids than it does family, you know? And not to say that there isn't content out there that isn't just for like families to watch and divulge. I think that happens more or less when kids are, 8, not 10, into their teens, where they're actually being able to watch a show like Survivor or The Amazing Race or Big Brother. Again, all CBS shows that I love. So, but I will say, with the editing being top-notch, the animation being top-notch, the storyline being quite something. Like, it's not like Polar Express animation. It's not like storylines that feel like they're Darman. Like, it feels like cringy in a way. I feel like it's going to be pretty good. And I have a lot of faith in what this could be. And mind you, this is supposed to be coming out in December. So I feel like we might see a little bit more of that, Christmas storyline. I don't feel like we're going to get like Hallmark storylines. I don't feel like we're going to get like Half-Baked, like I said, where it feels like it's cringy. And it's like, oh, like I understandably, it's probably for kids or more for the younger audience, where it's going to be like, yeah, like obviously as an adult, I see how that's going to play out. But I have high expectations for what it could be. And I think they've already, Chick-fil-A that is, I feel like they've already superseded my expectations, because I wouldn't expect that from a franchise that makes chicken and is closed on Sundays. I just wouldn't expect that. They make bomb milkshakes, don't get me wrong. Their chicken sandwich, or spicy chicken sandwich, is great, but I would not expect any of that from a franchise like Chick-fil-A. Like, it kind of, like the short, like cow video kind of reminds me of those old bird shorts that they'd have in Pixar, like where they're like on the power line. I'm sure you guys might know what I'm talking about, but it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like kind of funny for like all audiences, even if it's only like bite size. But is that worth it for somebody to subscribe? Probably not for somebody like me who doesn't have kids, who isn't probably going to watch any of these stories in these series, unless, and mind you, it's going to be reality TV. So, or mostly reality TV. So I think that that's even a different dynamic than I think most people are probably expecting. I would hope that they just continue with like the animated series, make fun little stories for kids, have those little short series that maybe pop up in between episodes or at like the end of some episodes, because like for like the audience that have kids and like the parents that are watching, it kind of reminds me of, and maybe reminds them of, those little bird skits that we'd see, those Pixar skits that we'd see that are just kind of funny, humorous. It doesn't matter how old you are to watch them. Like, I would watch them again, and I'm 23 years old. By the way, I'm also 23 now, Nationers. That's kind of insane. So yeah, that's something to look forward to in the next few months, because I'm interested to see how it goes, because we've seen like Quibi streaming platforms try and like pop up. We've seen like even like Pluto TV and like Sling TV. Like, I don't know how they make money. Like, some of the shows, some of the series that they have are like free TV. I don't necessarily know how they make money. That is not my job to find out. It is me as a spectator to find out how they stay afloat. And sometimes I'm not going to know, but Chick-fil-A apparently is dropping their own streaming platform coming later this year in 2024. December is what I've heard is supposed to be the launch date for their streaming platform. So let me know, obviously, down in the comment section if you guys plan on maybe subscribing, maybe want to see more teasers. I feel like big teasers would definitely help them. Because like when Disney Plus came out, we obviously kind of knew what was going to be on Disney Plus, but it's a chicken franchise streaming service. What type of content is going to be on there? I don't know. So I feel like they need a big marketing plan employed to kind of ramp up into it. Even like Apple TV, like I feel like they should look into that because like I had no idea what was going to be on Apple TV. So I feel like they need to create some original content like Ted Lasso or just even movies in a way. I feel like they could make some long form features with, it doesn't have to be like famous actors. It just to be effective actors in a way. So interesting topic to see. And speaking of months away, because obviously the Chick-fil-A streaming platform is going to be coming in late 2024. We have something that's going to be even longer than that. And I'm not talking about like centuries, from now. I was talking about this on stream. I was like, dang, like it's going to be so sad. Like we're not even going to see like a date like 12/12/12 until like January 1st, 2101. Like that's the next time that we're going to see one. And I would be turning 99 or turning 100 years old by then. So that will be very, very cool. I'll be 99 when it turns. So if I make it to 99, please refer to episode 63 of The Realest Podcast. Timestamp around 26 minutes. Just show me that clip. Like tweet me or whatever is going to be out at that time. Just like at me. I'm sure you guys, I'll be active at 99 years old. I promise. But anywho, Nationers, NASA astronauts are stuck in space. This is somewhat unheard of. There's two astronauts, Sunita Williams and Butch. His real name is Barry, but Butch Wilmore. It's kind of funny that they almost have this exact same last name. It'd be kind of funny because like, Williams is a common last name, so it'd be kind of funny if they're like not even married. Because like I watched like Deadpool and Wolverine and X-23, one of the actors, one of the X-Men, and Evan Peters who plays Silver Surfer. It's super funny because Evan Peters and her, I don't know her actual actor name, like her real name, but they look exactly alike. I'm like, is that like Evan Peters' like little sister? And they're like not even related. They have like completely different last names. So it's funny because, Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are stuck in space, and they almost have the exact same last name, regardless. But they were expected to go on a week-long mission up to space, and I tried looking at multiple different platforms or websites to see, like, what the frick was this week-long mission for. None of them said what it was for. I not only looked up, like, the recent update, and obviously they only say the week-long, but then I tried looking about, like, in June 5th, been since June 5th since they gone up, and I couldn't find any information on what the plans were for this week-long mission. It was supposed to be 8 days. Technically, it's a little longer than a week, but they were supposed to spend 8 days in space for some unknown reason, at least to me. But unfortunately, in the early parts of June and late May, there was apparently a bunch of delays. There was a helium leak in one of the thrusters. They ended up giving kind of like a green light. They were, waiting to kind of somewhat repair it, and they were hoping, and they kind of assumed, maybe not assumed, I'm sure it was like an educated wish and guess that it would be fine. Like I'm sure not like if a screw fell off, like maybe not the best thing, but not the worst thing in the world if it did. So apparently there was a bunch of leaks that ended up happening. So there was one leak prior to launch. They ended up waiting. There was a delay. This was like maybe like their third delay of whatever the other delays were for. But this helium leak in one of the thrusters, there's 28 of them in the Starlink. It's kind of like a clamshell. So it kind of looks like... how would I say it? So, yeah, I mean, it looks like a clamshell. So they sit on kind of like a disc, like it's kind of like a UFO, but instead of the top of the UFO is a point and whatnot. That's kind of what it looks like. And with 28 thrusters on it, they ended up launching on June 5th from Florida. And apparently in launch, and obviously once they got into space, there were continuous helium leaks in the Starlink. And apparently, I don't know how, but they were able to make it to the ISS, the International Space Station, which already had people on it. There's enough food up there apparently for, I don't know, apparently until February of 2025. And now there's, like I said, there's already people on it. They have 2 more people on it now. So I feel like they're going to have to ration a little bit. Apparently those people up in the ISS already are either doing like maintenance stuff because kind of need that to continuously work if that's the case. And so NASA, like I said, just announced that they're going to go get them in 6 months, and they're going to try and return them to Earth. They're going to try and bring them back. Now, I don't know what it looks like for the other people on the ISS. It's kind of somewhat not important right now. It seems like they're already still on their timeline. Like, they're not really worried about, like, them. But Sunita and Butch are in a safe space. They're, not, like, wandering space or in their time capsule or in the Starlink capsule where they're just floating in the eternity of gravity around the Earth. And so, like I said, there's these helium leaks that caused these thrusters. So the helium leaks are apparently, or helium is important for the fuel lines in these thrusters. Now, thrusters are super important because they help you maneuver around in space when you can't necessarily move. Like if you were to just like float, you're just floating forever. That's what Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, that's kind of the entire concept of them. They just float. There's nothing resisting them. There's no air resistance. It's just the vacuum of space, which is kind of a little oxymoronic, but that's the idea. And so basically the helium is used to pressure the fuel lines, which means that they can actually use these thrusters to maneuver. Now, I don't know what the danger is of not having one, but yet alone 5 of them have leaks. It seems like that if there are helium leaks, you can't necessarily use all of the thrusters in a way. It's not like they have like one line. Like if it's still going through the line, but like there's a leak, it's still depleting from the total helium leak or helium amount that is supposed to be, used for re-entry. And so apparently the solution is to bring them back in 2025. Now you're probably wondering why not try and get them now? Like why don't just like send something up there and like try and get them? A little bit too soon. Again, they've been stuck in there since basically June, the early parts of June. And the idea and concept behind like leaving them is they have a safe enough re-entry. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure most of you guys might have been too young or just infants at the time, knowing my audience is, around early 30s and, before. I don't think that there's any 4-year-olds watching. But in February of 2003, there was a mission of these 7 astronauts that were going to do 80 different experiments on fluid, on different things of, I don't know if aging, but just like different things that we were trying to learn at the time of how space affected that. And that was maybe, I think, what they were trying to do with these 2. And even, space is still so much untapped. I think it's a little bit more tapped than like the ocean on Earth. But the idea is that these 7 astronauts in 03 had gone up and they were supposed to spend 16 days doing 80 experiments and jotting their notes. I mean, these are trained scientists, not only just astronauts, but they're scientists that actually know what the frick they're doing. They know what they're doing. And so basically what ended up happening is they launched from Florida. That's where most of these go off, or Houston. But they were launching from Florida, and as they launched off, as you guys probably know what most of these spacecrafts look like, they kind of have like an orange front that looks almost like a boat. Like they have like 2 large thrusters. That's how they actually get them to launch off because they're so freaking heavy. And then kind of like the main space side of it. So there's 2 things here and then the main thing in the middle. And they, they ride up and then they detach. You've probably seen those videos where they detach and whatnot. And so when they launched off, apparently some part of the orange part, which is higher than the actual space shuttle, detached and it fell off. It was a foam piece of foam, and it fell onto the bipod ramp, which is part of the wing. If that makes sense, it's part of, like imagine this and imagine that, and then it kind of comes up. It detached and it hit kind of like the wing of the tank of the shuttle. And obviously you don't know that. There's no like external camera like looking at it. And you would never notice, especially with all the smoke and all of the water gushing and all the steam and pressure and all the fire that's coming, the bright lights that are, being exhausted from the thruster. But the thing is that there was a hole left in the left wing of the shuttle. And so they obviously went up there. Things were fine. And, they don't really expect anything because you're leaving Earth's gravity. You're not floating into Earth's gravity, right? And so you've never seen anyone burn exiting. You've seen people burn on entry. And so this Columbia disaster, that's the name of it. The Columbia disaster is that with the hole in the tank of the shuttle is that it let just atmospheric pressure and, the atmosphere into or gases that generally are in the air. That's why it burns, because the gas is up in each layer of the Earth. On re-entry, the atmospheric gases were allowed entry into, the shuttle. And so they burned up on re-entry, and things were everywhere. There was, I think, like 82,000 pieces of rubble, of debris picked up from the site, and they all looked at it. They examined it, and that's what they concurred, is that it fell onto the bipod ramp, which left a hole on re-entry, and they all burned up. So the shuttle was gone. Obviously, the astronauts perished in the event of that. And so I don't know what necessarily happened with the results in the experiments, but that's one of the reasons why they don't want to rush this, is because if they build something too quickly, or if they don't do tests. That's one of the main reasons why there was delays, because they were doing tests, and then that maybe caused a few things. So basically, it's kind of like it's obviously training for the astronauts, but it's also training for the shuttle. Now, I don't know if you guys have watched Hidden Figures in a way, but it was the first time that they were trying to launch, or the Americans were trying to launch something into space. Now, they weren't trying to get to the moon, but they were just trying to get something into space. And Glenn Powell, who plays one of the main guys that goes up into, I think his name's Bob Glenn. He was the guy that went 3 revolutions around the Earth, and apparently there was panels that had fallen off. And maybe this is a little bit for the dramatization of the movie, but the idea is that they obviously done like wind tunnel tests. They had done a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that these panels are secure, because you're launching somebody into space. If these panels fall off, there's a possibility that these heat-resistant metal covers, if they fall off, that he's gonna burn up on re-entry. So they had to bring him in, I think like 8 revolutions too soon. He was supposed to do like 11 revolutions around the Earth. I don't know what the reason, like just do 1 and come back. I don't know. But he did 3, and that's kind of like a part of that process. You have to do tests on the capsule, the shuttle. You have to do a whole bunch of tests on that, because if you don't, you can't just like hope that it works and then just send it up there. So that's kind of the process of that, is because obviously 2 months isn't really enough time. So I'm sure over the next 2 months, maybe they have something for it. SpaceX is supposed to step in and actually get them back. By the way, talking about Hidden Figures, that movie is really good. Like there's 3 different storylines. One, crunching the numbers and being like the first woman kind of in this space, no pun intended, but then also one of them doing not only the records, but became one of the leaders in IBM in the space program and whatnot, the supervisor that is. And then also one of them, oh God, what was she doing? There was a third one. She had to go like get her credentials because she needed it to actually get this position. I don't remember what the position she had. And I do apologize, because I just watched this movie probably like a week and a half ago, and it's a super good movie. It's super touching. Obviously, like at that time, like race and division between colored people and white people, in this case, black and white, that was the reality for these women. And it's kind of crazy just because they were like, no, like I'm good. I trust this. And I don't know how historically accurate, I'm sure it is, but Bob Glenn, again, I'm assuming it's his name. He was like, get that girl. Like she is like really good at these numbers. Like she needs to like do this, because there's a whole bunch of changes and stuff that happened. And she was really good at this math stuff for, calculations for the landing zone and everything that they were doing. And like it's just super fascinating how it all worked out. And there's a really powerful quote. Harrison, I think is his last name. He like breaks down this colored I don't know if it says person. I think it just says colored bathrooms, but he's breaking it down with like a crowbar, and it falls to the ground. He's like, we all piss the same color. There's no, something about it, but it was like super cool. And I was like, dang, like that must, like, for the moment of all of those people and probably the future, obviously, for colored people, it changed so much, And so it is really cool. And so again, like, they don't want to rush it. They want to make sure to do the test, the calculations, and all that good stuff, because that stuff is very important. And so hopefully they are able to come back in February of 25. I'm sure we'll probably talk about it then, because I love space. I love, obviously, that we're sending people back up into space and back to the moon, for whatever reason that may be. So I'm really excited for that. Now, Nationers, I'm really excited for maybe the future of YouTube. In a way, obviously, rest in peace, Susan Wojcicki. Susan, rest in peace, Susan. I do apologize. I want to say Wojcicki. I want to say Wojcicki. I'm thinking of Wojnarowski, and that's what I wanted to say, but it's Susan Wojcicki. Again, we've talked about her one time before on this podcast, and I swear I butchered it every single time. So rest in peace, Susan. She actually perished to cancer. She had cancer kind of like as she was leaving YouTube. And her son, oh my God, her son died to like hazing in college. And then she was obviously going through cancer at that time, and she ended up succumbing to, I think it was skin cancer. I believe that she perished seems like a weird word. She died to skin cancer, and it feels weird using died because I don't like using that word. She passed away to skin cancer. That's the word that I like to use. But Nationers, we obviously have a new CEO. Things are good on YouTube in a way. Obviously, there's some Mr. Beast drama that's been going on, and that's crazy. I wanted to dedicate like an entire episode to that because it's still ongoing, and I don't want to just like fragment it in a way where it's like, oh, you have to watch this episode, and there's parts of it, and then there's more parts of it here. I want to just like let it all go. Let's talk about it. So, Cristiano Ronaldo actually just launched his YouTube, which is kind of crazy because obviously Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the biggest sports persons, athletes, probably of all time, in the world actively right now. He's probably even one of the most famous people on the planet, which is kind of crazy to say because even like 20 years ago when he's like 15, 16, he's obviously just like an up and coming soccer star. And so I even feel like he and Lionel Messi, one of my favorite players, my GOAT, had actually revolutionized and kind of modernized the sport that is football. Now, Americans do call it soccer. I will be calling it football because that's what I believe it is. And so he just dropped a YouTube channel, and it's kind of surprising because he's the most followed Instagram account of all time. Like, not even just like positive net gain. He has like the most followers on Instagram, which is crazy. I'm going to look it up right now. I don't know what the number is, but I know that for a fact. So let me I'm going to look it up. Cristiano Ronaldo. There it is. He has 637 million followers. Now, am I wrong? I feel like that would be higher. I do not know. Let me look up the most followed Instagram account because I feel like it is Cristiano Ronaldo, but it might actually be like somebody like Selena Gomez. Let's go to Social Blade here. Let's go to that. Let's go to supported platforms. Instagram followers. It is Cristiano Ronaldo. Beyond, what is it? Beyond Lionel Messi and Instagram and Selena Gomez. So basically, here's like the top 10. So we have Instagram at 1, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, which makes sense, Selena Gomez, Kylie Jenner, The Rock, Ariana Grande, Kim K, Beyonce, and Khloe Kardashian. And then Nike at 11, which is kind of crazy. J-Lo's even up there. It's crazy. Real Madrid, which is also funny because Cristiano Ronaldo played for Real Madrid, and they are in the 25 spot. Even Neymar's up there. A lot of soccer players. Soccer players are huge, Nationers. And so all this to say that Cristiano Ronaldo broke like nearly every record for, the fastest blank in a day, whatever. The fastest to reach something. Now, I will say there's definitely some records out there that I don't know if he will beat. But it is interesting because let's just take a look at his records. I'll kind of discuss them in a way, and maybe the future of maybe what this means for YouTube, what this means for his channel, and what this means for the landscape of maybe another battle of subscriber counts. Because obviously Mr. Beast just passed T-Series, which is huge, and so kind of exciting. But Cristiano Ronaldo now holds the record on YouTube for the most subs gained in an hour, most subs gained in a day, in a week, in a month, a 30-day period, which actually ends on September 19th. So he's still growing. As long as September 19th has not came by, that record will still continue to grow. So it's the most subscribers in a 30-day period already, and it's still ongoing. So he's broken the record, it's still going. And that's also a month. And now the difference between a 30-day period and a month is different, because I could already have my account for like 5 years and then still have that 30-day period that ended up being the record. But so month and 30 days are not the exact same. They can be. It's kind of like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. And then he also has the fastest channel to hit 100K in 22 minutes, fastest channel to hit 1 million in an hour and 29 minutes, the fastest channel to hit 10 million in 11 hours and 31 minutes. And then he's also the fastest channel to gain 10 million subscribers in 11 hours and 13 minutes. Now, you're probably wondering, how does he the fastest channel hit and also gain? Same thing applies where you gain 10,000 subscribers, and it doesn't matter when and where that's at. So that is crazy. That's only 11 hours. Like, I remember Mr. Beast, I think, like, grew like 9 million subscribers when he posted like a Squid Game video. So that was like a week. Now let's condense that into 1/14 of that. 12 hours, 11 hours and 13 minutes. Not only for hitting 10 mil, but also gaining. And that also is alongside all the records he holds in football. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty insane. Obviously, somebody like him and his caliber on a global level in the sport of football, as a personality, I would say celebrity, but obviously more of an athlete than anything, is crazy. Now, like if somebody like LeBron, I don't know, maybe that could also be. I feel like football is definitely a more global sport than basketball is, but if LeBron ever created a YouTube channel, I definitely feel like some of these might be up for danger in a way. Definitely get a lot of buzz. I don't know if it beats it, but I will say after watching a handful of videos, they are dubbed. So it seems like there's a whole production crew. It seems like there's a whole bunch of people that are working on that content or posting like the best snippets, because he's even posted like podcast clips, but it seems like they're very like shortened, like sections of it, or just like little stories that, are condensed. And most of these videos are like 40 seconds to like 2.5 minutes. Like there's not a long form video on there. And mind you, he has 177 million views. That's, I think, with 7 shorts out that all have more than 3.5 million from what I remember. And then I think every video at least has like 7 million on it. So it is pretty nuts, because I think his most is like 35 and like 36. So kind of nuts. But he's even posting like videos like how to like, persevere, how to like Cristiano, what's the lifestyle like, what's the pressure of being Cristiano Ronaldo. So these videos are obviously, like I said, very short. They're like minutes long. They're not like a full long form video. They're not like 25 minutes. They're not, long form 3-hour like documentaries. They're such really short bite size. And I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if that's just to get content out right away, just to kind of push the hype for the time being. So it's pretty interesting because, like I said, Nation, he has 177 million views, but he also has 40 million plus subscribers on the channel. And his channel is only 4 days old, by the way. It was created in July 8th, but I don't think it had gone in like public. I don't think anything had done it, if that makes sense, since like the first upload. I think that's kind of when they gauge things, because like people can have an account but not really upload anything. So all that to say, what exactly is the reason for the channel? Obviously, there's bite-sized content. There's things to learn about CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo, but I guess the idea for them is just to kind of continue to build that brand. And now, again, obviously with the colossal growth that he's had over the past 4 days, he's got 10 million subs pretty much every single day. I've subscribed to the channel, not because I'm going to watch the content. I mean, it is, again, dubbed, and they do have like English, speakers that, speak for me, because he speaks Portuguese because he's from Portugal. And so when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what's the purpose? Are we going to see, that channel continue to grow? I think there's a potential for a Mr. Beast versus Cristiano Ronaldo sub battle in the future. Now, obviously, with Mr. Beast being over north of 300 million, which is insane. But if you think about it, like 40 million people just subscribed to Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, there is a caveat to that. I don't think with the content that Cristiano Ronaldo is putting out right now, he will reach anywhere close to it. I think he plateaus around like 80 to 90 million, maybe a little north of 100 million, right? Like maybe passes PewDiePie at 115. And so all that to say is I think if Cristiano Ronaldo would post like videos kind of similar to what he's doing right now, but maybe a little bit more long form, like he's doing like kind of like couple videos. He's doing like obviously those, how to live life like Cristiano Ronaldo in a way, how to persevere, what's the pressure, training like. I think if he posts things that are a little bit more full fleshed out videos and concepts, I think he could definitely get up there. I mean, he already has 600 plus million followers on Instagram, which is already insane. He has, why doesn't it I have to log in. Frick. Hold on. Let me just go back here. I don't remember the number. 637 million subscribers. That's a lot of followers on Instagram. And he's already got 40 million on YouTube. It would not surprise me if that definitely gets north of 100 million just because it is him. But I think the difference between Mr. Beast and creators that are, growing, that are actual creators and not just a personality that has a bunch of subscribers, is because Mr. Beast is trying to grow. He's trying to make videos. He's trying to make, things that are popular in a way that loads of people can watch it. So with all that said, Cristiano Ronaldo holds pretty much every record and will continue to break every record, I believe. He probably will be the first, fastest. He won't be the first, but he definitely will be the fastest to a lot of these milestones and whatnot. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that he's able to grow. I hope that this kind of changes the landscape for YouTube in a way that maybe more celebrities kind of come on. Even if Adam Sandler makes a YouTube channel, I feel like YouTube definitely has a potential for even just celebrities to kind of at least post content. YouTubers know how to do YouTube. Celebrities know how to be celebrities, but where is that crossing point for celebrities to kind of do YouTube? Because obviously YouTubers definitely aren't celebrities, but they do have different, there's a lot of crossover there. But I would love if Adam Sandler came over onto YouTube and just posted weekend runs that he does when he's playing, basketball. I would love even there's professional athletes golfers that are making YouTube videos. Bryson DeChambeau has been making a bunch of golf content on his channel, and he's not necessarily a YouTuber, but he's a golfer that does YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel there's a bunch of potential, and I think Cristiano Ronaldo definitely opens that door for a lot of these celebrities. I would love if Zendaya, comes back and, just does a weekly review. I feel that would be so good, and I feel it opens the door for creators like that, and for people to be on YouTube and to watch more videos and to see this platform flourish, daily active, monthly active, and just overall landscape of that. So nationers, thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. I think we're going to kind of wrap it with that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the channel if you guys haven't already. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching today's podcast, no matter where you guys are watching. Just thank you guys. It means a lot to me. I love doing these podcasts. I love talking about these topics. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I like talking about YouTube. I like talking about things that, are beyond, sports and space, and it's crazy. Nationers, just thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. Make sure to leave a like on today's episode, and I'll see you guys all later. Banner right behind me, episode 63. We're signing off. 07. Peace. Peace.